रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना। भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसार कुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्म द्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनः शम्भुः भगवान् बादरायणः। पाराशर्यवचःसुधां सुमनसः दुग्धाब्धिमध्योद्धृतां संसाराग्निविदीपनव्यपगतप्राणात्मसञ्जीवनीं पूर्वाचार्यसुरक्षितां बहुमतिं व्याघातदूरस्थिताम् आनीतां तु निजाक्षरै सुमनसः भौमाः पिबन्त्वन्वहम्। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतरसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः। सान्द्रानन्दवबोधात्मकमनुपमिदं कालदेशावदिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे। हन्तभाग्यं जनानाम् अग्रे पश्यामि तेजो निबिडतरकला यावळी लोभनीयं पीयूषाप्लावितोऽहं तदनु तदुतरे दिव्यकैशोरवेशं तारुण्यारम्भरम्यं परमसुखरसास्वाद रोमाञ्चिताङ्गैः आवीतं नारदाद्यैः विलसदुपनिषत्सुन्दरीमण्डलैश्च बाहुद्वन्द्वेन रत्नोज्ज्वलवलयभृता शोणपाणिप्रवाळेनोपता वेणुनाळीं प्रसृतनखमयूकाङ्गुलीं सङ्गशारां हृत्वा वक्त्रारविन्दे सुमधुरविकसदरागम् उद्भाव्य मानैः शब्दब्रह्मामृतैः त्वं शिशिरितभुवनैः सिञ्च सिञ्च मे कर्णवीथीं योगीन्द्राणां त्वदङ्गेष्वधिकसुमधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवासो भक्तानां कामवर्षद्युतरुकिसलयं नाथ ते पादमूलं नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते कृष्ण Karunya Sindho Krishna Karunya Sindho Ritva Niseshatapan Pradishatu Paramananda Sandoha Lakshmi Ajñātvā te mahatvam yadiha nigaditam Vishwanatha kshametaha Stotram chaitat sahastrottaram adhikataram tvat prasadaya bhuyat Vedha narayaniyam shrutishu cha janusha stutyata varnanena Sphitam Leelavatarayiridamita kurutam Ayurarogya Saukhyam Ayurarogya Saukhyam Janaki Kantasmaranam Gopika Jeevanasmaranam. With the abundant blessings of Paramatma, of Lord Srinivasa, the presiding deity of this beautiful temple, we have had the opportunity to understand and appreciate traces of Srimad Bhagavata Mahapurana. 12 cantos, we call it Skandam. And not exactly 18,000, around 18,000 shlokas with differing chandas, with beautiful commentaries like Sridhariyam, Veeraraghaviyam, Vallabhacharya's Vyakhyanam called Subodhini. Bhagavatam is an experience, but we have had the anubhavam to just touch some of its periphery. In this process of understanding, internalizing and experiencing Paramatma and his various incarnations, we have covered those instances that led to the birth of Srimad Bhagavata Mahapurana. We spoke about Ashwathama, we spoke about Apandaveyastra Prayogam, the Lord who went and protected the fetus, and while the child was born also he protected. What reasons led to him being called Parikshit? Then what reasons led to Parikshit at a later stage being cursed by the son of a rishi? And what was the emancipation he sought for those 7 days? How did Shukabrahmam come on his own accord and then start narrating? What was the question asked by Parikshit, which was Draunyaste Viplushtamidam Madangam? That is when he began the process of elucidating creation. And then we went on to understand Swayambhuva Manu, his 3 daughters, of which Devahuti was married to Kardama Prajapati, then thereby Kapila's birth, Kapilopadesham. Then we discussed about Kashyapa Prajapati's wives Aditi and Diti, Diti giving birth to Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha's death at the hands of Varaha and then Varaha Charamashloka. Then Hiranyakashipu's son called Prahlada, Prahlada's Bhakti, and then Hiranyakashipu's Vadam, thereby leading to Nisimhavataram, briefly Tripura Samharam. Then we also discussed Kurmavataram, Jadabharata Charitram, then the Charitram of Rishabhanatha, and then thereby his son called Bharata, thereby the land being called Bharata. Then we also discussed Vamanavataram. We also discussed Kapilopadesham, the philosophy in it. And then finally we ended up with the birth of Krishna. But at about 8 o'clock yesterday, I said that there are certain portions pending. In the pending portions, one is about a person who lived in Kanyakubja. Kanyakubja was later called Kanauj. In Kanyakubja, Kanauj, lived a person who was not adhering to what the Shastras had laid, and he wasn't very particular about conforming to the Shastras. He led a very lavish life. Over a period of time, he even became a destitute. He had many children. He was a Nastika. See, we often equate the word atheist with the word Nastika, correct? Yes, no, So, technically in Sanatana Dharma, as per the definition given by our Purvacharyas, which was also agreed upon by later Vyakaranavadis like Hemachandra and so on, Nastika doesn't mean the person who just doesn't believe in God or Almighty or however you wish to call it. A person who doesn't believe in the Vedas, a person who doesn't believe in the Paramatma who has been informed in the Vedas, a person who doesn't believe in the Dhamam, the Padam of the Paramatma, put together is called a Nastika. The definition is very clear. How we want to interpret it is in our own hands. A person who doesn't believe in the Vedas, he may believe in God, but not believe in the Vedas. So in the definition of Sanatana Dharma, he is still a Nastika. A person may believe in the Vedas, but not believe in the Lord. Is there a person like that? Can anyone tell me what that category is called? What is the word? They believe in the Vedas. No. Purva is correct. Then, very good. Who said that? Excellent. Purva Mimamsakas. Purva Mimamsakas will completely believe in the Vedas. They are extremely well trained. There is no doubt. They will do Yajnam. They will do even Agnihotram. But if you ask, whom are you doing the Agnihotram for? They will say that Vedas say do Agnihotram, we are doing. Who will give you the fruit of those Vedas? That they say Yajnam itself will give. Phalam. So there is no person denoted by the Vedas. So they believe only in the first three portions. Brahmanam, Aranyakam, Samhita. They are all Purva Mimamsakas. So they also will technically fall under the Nastika's definition. So, this person who lived in Kanyakubja was a Nastika. Of course, Shuka Brahmam doesn't go up saying whether he believed in the Vedas, didn't believe in Paramatma, believed in the Paramatma, not in the Vedas. All these permutations he doesn't give. So, he had many children. The last of his children was very dear to him because he was the one who completed the production process. Otherwise, it was incessant. It was going on. So this last boy was very sentimental to the father because finally he concluded that this is where my family ends. So this boy was called Narayana. So you are saying he is Nastika. But how did he give the name Narayana? Right? How did he give the name Narayana? Narayana has various ways of etymologically deriving it. Naranam ayanam yasya saha. The one who has chetana achetana as his body is called Narayana. So that is a very astikya definition. There is a general definition. Anything or anybody who floats in water is called Narayana. That is why in Nepal there is a kshetram called Neer or Jalanarayana. I spoke about vada. After you fry the vada, you let it float in the buttermilk. So when my grandmother used to do that, my grandfather used to come and say, this is Narayana. It floats, right? Anything that floats is Narayana. So Ajamila used this as his root. Now Ajamila had his last minutes. That is when the Jivatma had to leave the body. Before that, he wanted to see his last son. I don't know how many of you will know, sure, some of the elderly people here will concur. So when they have many children and the last is a daughter, they will call her by a name, Mangalam. Finally it is over. Or she will be called, or he will be called Shubham, Shubha. Over, Pavamana, so the production is over. He was called Narayana. Now, as he called his son's name Narayana, the vitals were very bad. His pressure came down. That graph went straight. the Atma was about to leave the body and it left. Now it attained a Sukshma Shariram and Yamabhattals came. Yamadutas, they came. Yamadutas, generally when we describe them in our Puranas, they will look very, very fearsome. Then as they were about to throw the Pasham is the noose, two other very smart hero-like people came. They said, you can't take him. He falls under our jurisdiction. Then these Yamabhattas asked, no chance at all. This man has not performed even one good deed inadvertently also. Even without his knowledge, he has not performed any good deed. Forget about with knowledge. So he is entitled to come to Yamalokam. Then why are you saying he is entitled to come to Vishnu Lokam? That is when they said, no, he invoked the name of Narayana while he was dying. Now, Ajamila was surprised. He thought, I didn't invoke that Narayana. I invoked my Mookorigina Narayana, my son. But why did the Lord assume? That is when the commentator says, even without our knowledge, if we call out the name of the Lord, he will think that we are calling out his name. That time when Yamabhatta said, see, we should quietly leave this place because I now remember what Yamadeva told me. While leaving, Yamadeva called that Yamaduta and said, see, your rights to bring a Jivatma in the Sukshma Shariram who has tormented people is awarded to you. But come here. And he said something in the ear. What did he say? Parashara tells, Swapurusham abhivikshya pashahastam vadati yama kilatasya karnamule at the end. Parihara madhusudana prapannan prabhuraham anyandrinam avaishnavanam. So those who do not fall under the Vaishnava category, you have to bring them. If they are Vishnu Bhaktas, Yamabhattal's jurisdiction will not work there, is a Vakyam. All this is quoted, this shlokam is quoted by Adi Shankara and Vishnu Sahasranama Bhashyam, Parashara Bhatta and Bhagavad Guna Darpanam, Satyasananda Tirtha in his Bhashyam. That is why Alvar tells something very interesting. He says, Naranan tan annai naragam pugal. See, the boy who is called Narayana, his mother won't go to Narakam, it seems. Why? She will keep calling him, right? Narayana, 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 Narayana. She won't go to hell. She called in various tone and tenor, Swami, that is okay. In whichever way you call, Narasimha, vainge. Then only, even then you will go to moksha. So, Ajamilopakhyanam is a beautiful reminder that we should give meaningful names to our children. Meaningful names. That doesn't have to be unique. The child has to be unique. People want the name to be unique. Ordinary. Kamalanayana Vasudeva Vishnu Dharanidhara Achyuta Chanka Chakrapane. You know, I visited one of a Bhakta's house. That lady, that mommy, she was a party and she said, please come home. I went. She introduced her grandson. Generally, what will you ask? The only question that we can ask easily today without getting into controversy is name. Everything else will cause a controversy. Right? So I asked, what is your name? He said, Kim. I thought, Kim means a question in Sanskritam. Hey, that Kim, what is this? We ask. Kim, what is your name? What? That is Kim, right? But I didn't say anything. I felt, oh, what name have they given? Next day, while I was reading Sahasranamam, the Lord reminded me, Ekaha anekaha ekonaika savaka. Kim is one of the names of the Lord. China has borrowed from us. So, this was to prove that don't think you're very smart, here is one nama. But we don't generally keep these names. Saha is one nama. Ekaha, Anekaha, Saha, Ka, Kim. Saya Namaha, Kaya Namaha, Vaya Namaha. This is how Parashara Bhatta interprets. There are some differences between the Vaishnava and Smartha Patam in Sahasranamam. For example, Vaishnava Patam is Sadaksharam, Asaksharam. General Patam is Sadasaksharam, Aksharam. It is Sadaksharam, Asaksharam. In one place you will get Sarvadarshi Vimuktatma, correct? In Vaishnava Patam it is Sarvadarshi Nivrittatma. So there are a few differences, but here, so this Nama Vaibhavam is enlightened here. That is why Tondaradi Pudiyalvar was a class in Nama Vaibhavam. So he used to, every Pasuram of his in Tirumalai talks about how names should be given, how names shouldn't be shortened. Now, that said, this is Ajamilopakhyanam, which simply tells us what is the message. Give meaningful names to your children, keep calling those names, and think of the Lord as well. Even if you don't think of the Lord while spelling out that name, the Lord will take into account that you have thought about Him. That is Ajamilopakhyanam. Next, there is another beautiful Charitram. It is called Ambarisha Charitram. There was a king called Ambarisha. He used to strictly adhere to Ekadashi Vratam. That strictly underline. Because even I adhere to Ekadashi Vratam. But how is my Ekadashi Vratam? It is very close to Dwadashi. Very close. Very close, minus the rice. So if you are already having quinoa, I don't think there is anything special you have to do for Ekadashi. You know, while I used to be in Bombay, I used to work in Vikhroli. My Maharashtrian Astika friend used to come. So I used to ask her, her name was Nilima. I used to ask her, Nilima, aaj kya hai? Aaj to Ekadashi Vrat hai. So I said, are you fasting? No, मैं कुछ नहीं खाने वाली हूँ. सिर्फ साबुदाना खिचड़ी, साबुदाना का बड़ा, साबुदाना का खीर लेके आई हूँ. ये तो द्वादशी हो गया. So Ekadashi Vratam, what is Ekadashi Vratam? See, Shastram says, all our Grihya Sutram, Apastamba Sutram, Bodhayana Sutram, they all insist on one thing. All rishis unanimously state, follow Ekadashi Vratam. This is the only day you have to fast. Now you may say, I am very attached to this deity. Monday I fast for this deity, Tuesday for this, Thursday for this, Friday for Rajinikanth, Saturday for Vijaykanth. Not allowed in Shastram. Only Ekadashi Vratam is allowed. If you want, you follow that. That is called Harivasaram. So in a month, typically you will get 2 Ekadashis. So in a year, 24 to 25 Ekadashis you will get. So Ekadashi Vratam is not Vratam only on that day. You have to begin on Dashami Tithi evening. So roughly by 6:30 you should pack your dinner. That's all. And then you should eat on Dwadashi morning by 8:30. Morning 7 o'clock they will do Parana. You would have just woken up. You will get rice and everything. That is called Parana in Sanskritam. Parana Karanamnaha, says Vedanta Deshika. So Ekadashi Vratam. Now let's forget our Ekadashi Vratam. Ambarisha was very honest. He had completely adhered to the Ekadashi Vratam. But Ekadashi Vratam will get its phalam only when you do Dwadashi Tithi Parana. And for Dwadashi, since you have fasted the previous day, your stomach may be a bit acidic because there is no food there. So you should try avoiding those foods which may increase acidity. So they wouldn't consume puli, tamarind and related elements. And then you will have to cool down your stomach. That is why they use a certain spinach called Agastya Shakha in Sanskritam, which is called Agatti Kirai. Then you have to give it to the cow. If the cow is available, hope the cow hasn't changed its diet. Then you have to give that Agastya Shakha and then consume gooseberry paste. All this is Ekadashi, Dwadashi, Vratam and Parana. Now there was a king called Ambarisha who observed this Ekadashi Vratam for a year, which means 24 Ekadashis he has done with his wife. On the day of Dwadashi Tithi, in the morning, Durvasa Maharshi came. On a Dwadashi Tithi, it is very welcome to feed some Bhagavata. So this Durvasa came, so they thought he's a great rishi. Durvasa ji, hamare saath aake khaiye. Durvasa said, no, I'll just go take a shower and come. So then he had to go. By 8:30, the fast has to get over. You have to consume the tirtham and then have the parana food. Durvasa ji did not come. As usual, it got delayed and delayed and delayed. Incessant delay. Now, Ambarisha thought, well, let me not eat food. I will have food with him. I will just consume the tulasi jalam, which will complete my fast. While he was having tulasi jalam, if you are a movie director, think the screenplay will be like this. He's consuming. In this gap, Durvasa has to come. So Durvasa got angry. Tatra taparananide bhavadarchanante Durvasa sasya munina bhavanam prapede bhoktum vritascha nripena pararti shilaha. Look at Bhattadri. He gives one name to Durvasa. Pararti shilaha, para arti shilaha. The one who used to get happiness, derive happiness by giving trouble to others. Para, arti in Sanskritam means trouble. Ganga ji ki arti. So we are troubling Ganga ji. No sir, ये तो है आरती. ये आरती नहीं है, ये हारती है. ह जो अक्षर है ना, वो पहले डालना चाहिए. वो हारती है, आरती नहीं है. आरती in Sanskritam means problem. Para arti shilaha, the one who used to get happiness by giving trouble to others. Pararti shilaha mandam jagama yamunam niyamana dvisyam. Now Durvasa got angry. He didn't even check. See, that is where we get wrong. We don't check what our mistakes are. We will get angry on others. Now he was at mistake. So there used to be yagams called Vyabhichara yagams in those days. We get many occasions in Paundraka Vasudeva episode in Dashamaskandam. We have a son called Sulakshana or Sudakshina, I don't remember exactly. He does one Vyabhichara yagam. And there was a rishi in Vanaparva of Mahabharatam who does Vyabhicharam. Vyabhicharam is like occult. So they release a Kritya. Krityas are like those, that Harry Potter, you get that small house elf. House elf. Like house elf. They will listen to their master only. So this Durvasa said, Kritya, go and attack Ambarish in Karnataka. So as he started, this Kritya started, Ambarisha did not do anything. He prayed to Lord Sudarshana. Sudarshana namastubhyam. He prayed to Sudarshana. That is when Sudarshana came chasing the Kritya, one. And it started chasing Durvasa. Now for Durvasa, two people are chasing. Sudarshana and Kritya. Both. Now Durvasa got really worried because Sudarshana won't spare anybody. He went to everybody's house. They all put board outside. Privacy, please, do not disturb. So then he went to Vaikuntham. He said, Karya Vaikuntham. Vaikuntham 2.0. You remember day one I said. Vaikuntham 2.0. That is when the Lord said, see, you have come seeking my help, Durvasji, but these Krityas don't fall under my jurisdiction. They won't listen to me. In fact, you will be surprised to know Durvasa. Durvasa saying, please say it fast. The chakram is chasing me. Durvasa, you won't believe. The devotees of me are not subservient to me. I am subservient to my devotees. Aham bhakta paradhinaha. There is one small charitram amongst the Alvars of the Bhakti tradition. While a Pallava king humiliated the student of Tirumalai Alvar called Kanikannan, he said, Kanikanna, you have to get out of this Kanchipuram city. I don't want to stand your sight. Kanikannan said, okay, and he took leave of his acharya called Tirumalai Alvar or Bhakti Sara. The teacher said, see, when my student is not there, what purpose will I serve? So he said, even I will leave. The Lord who was reclining on the serpent couch, he looked at the Alvar, sir, you are leaving with your student. What will I do without you? So Alvar said, Kanikannan pogindran kamarum pungachi tamarai kanna nee ingirukka venda nee undan painagappai shuruttikkol. My student is leaving, even I am leaving, I can't live without you, so O Lord, come along with you. Wrap your serpent couch called Adisesha, hold it like hold on. You know hold on? Hold all. Hold all. Hold that hold all and come. The Lord took it away and went with the Alvar. That is when Pallava Raja realized his folly and he said, Alvar, please stay back in Kanchi. Then Alvar asked his student, are you ready? I am okay, sir. Emoticon. Done. So when the student has stayed, the teacher will stay. When the student and teacher have stayed, the Lord was waiting for the command of his devotee. Then the devotee said, Kanikannan vandorindan kamarum pungachi tamarai kanna nee undan painagappai virittukkol. Now put back your serpent couch and sleep on it. So the Lord does what his devotee asks. Yatha uktam. Yathoktakari yatha uktam. What he says, he will listen. So the Lord said, Aham bhakta paradhinaha hyasvatantra ivadvija sadhu birgrasya hridayo bhaktair bhakta janapriyaha. I am extremely attached to my devotees. Don't hurt them. Durvasa. Durvasa then came to Ambarisha and said, Ambarisha, please forgive me. Oh, Durvasa ji, I didn't realize you have been running. Sudarshana, go away. Now, so Durvasa ji, more Koramb is waiting for us. Now, by the time he was panting for his breath, he didn't want to say a no. Now he knew what is the effect of hurting a devotee. He said, no problem, whenever you say, I will take. So, yadino bhagavan prita eka sarva gunashrayaha sarva bhutatma bhavena dvijo bhavatu vijvaraha. There is another charitram pending. Pending, how much pending? Say you are not managing your time well. What to do? There was a rishi called Mrikandu. Mrikandu had a son called Markandeya. They were in a kshetram in the state of Tamil Nadu, very close to Mayavaram, called as Tirukadayur. This boy was given a caveat by Lord Shiva that he shall be very astute and intelligent, but shall not cross the age of 16. He will die prematurely. The father said, it's okay, let me have an intelligent son. Even if he dies young, it's okay, he'll serve the society well. When Markandeya was of 16 years and was propitiating Lord Shiva, what is Lord Shiva's name in Tirukadayur? Amrita, he'll become, he's also right. Original name, Amrita Ghateshwara. What is Parvati's name? She's super famous. Abhirama Sundari, Abhirami. So Abhirami is super famous. Aatalai, Engal Abhirama, Valliyai, Andamellam, Puttalai, Madulampu, Nirattalai, Puviyadanga, Kaatalai. Aingan, Pasankushamum, Karumbum, Villum, Sertalai, Mukkanniyai, Toluvorku, Voruthingillaye. She is extremely pretty. Abhirama Sundari. So in this kshetram, Markandeya was propitiating Lord Shiva. While he was so attached to Shiva, Punnar, Menian, Kunitta, Puruvamum, Kovvai, Shevvayat, Kumitchirippum, Panitta Chadayum, Pavadampol, Meniyit Pal, Vennirum, Initta Mudaya, Yeditta, Purpadamum, Kanapetral, Manitta Piraviyum, Venduvade, Immanilate. So attached to Shiva, while he was propitiating Shiva, Yamadeva came on a buffalo. He threw the pasham on Markandeya as an indication that he should be ready to travel to Yamadwaram. But by mistake, that pasham also enveloped the lingam. While he pulled, Lord Shiva emerged and said, how dare you take my devotee? And reprimanded Yama. Kala Samhara Murti. So, one Swami said, who said Kala Samhara Murti? Very good. That is also correct answer. Now Markandeya then Lord Shiva said, see, I have to satisfy Yama also. You said you will release him when he completes 16 years. So Markandeya, you shall perennially remain 16. Only if you complete 16, you will be taken. Perennially 16, you will keep singing Sindura Pove. So after saying this, Then Markandeya had to live permanently. See, living permanently, we'll think it's a boon, it's a bane. People will imagine you're going to a house. Yarna ever மாமனார் உங்க மாமனார் இல்லைன்னா 7 தலைமுறைக்கு முன்னாடி இருந்த பிராணனை எடுக்க போயும் தொலைய மாட்டீங்க. So you have to live. You will become a burden. When one of my distant relatives, they were bedridden. They were caretakers. Their own relatives, sons and daughters, they were taking care of that bedridden person. So when my grandmother took some Musambi oranges to their house and got inside their house, that person asked, have you brought it for my tata who's bedridden? No, for the people who are taking care. You know, people who take care of bedridden people need more juice and strength. So now Markandeya he realized it early, that there is no use in living perennially. So what was the only way? To seek moksham, where there is no necessary way back. I don't have to come back. He then went back to Kalasamhara Murti and said, Swami, please give me moksham. Now Lord Shiva said, see, that department is different. Moksham icchet janardanat ishvaraha jnanaman vichet. I will give you knowledge. I am Dakshinamurti. Moksham icchet janardanat. Go to another department. The file was passed. Government office. ನಾನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನೀವು ಆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡಿ, BBMPಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. So now Markandeya first he went to a kshetram which was infested with tulasi plants. There he saw one orphaned little girl. She had the prosperity flowing from her face. She looked so prosperous and gracious like Mahalakshmi, Ma, and she looked so patient unlike any other child of her age, like Bhumi. So she looked like Bhu and Ma, so she was called Bhuma. Now Bhuma, she grew up into a very 5-year-old girl, 6-year-old girl she became. The father was always meditating. Markandeya was meditating. One day, one age-old man, no teeth, one walking stick, he came. So he went and sat on the pedestal outside this house. Markandeya asked, Namaskaram Tata, how are you? I'm fine. I've come searching for a girl. For your grandson? No, for me. Sir, Tata, you may die in a few days. You're planning to marry a girl? Yes. I heard you have a girl. Swami, how can I give my girl? She's just completed Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. But he was worried. What will happen if the Rishi gets angry? So he called, Bhuma, come here. Bhuma came with her apron on. He said, this Tata wants to marry you. Do you like this Tata? She got extremely coy. She said, I can't look at him. He's so handsome. This man? Only to Bhuma's eyes, the Lord appeared as a young man wearing bell-bottoms pant. Then Markandeya couldn't register and digest this. He said, I can't see my daughter, she has to still go to school and she knows basic cooking. Basic cooking, what does she know? She knows, but she doesn't know in what proportion salt should be added. This old man said, even my doctor has advised me to go saltless. I will remain saltless throughout my life. That is when Markandeya realized he was the Lord himself. Ennappan enakka igula ennai pettravalai ponnappan maniyappan muttappan என்னப்பனுமாய் மின்னப்பொன் மதில் சூழ்த்து விண்ணகர் சேர்ந்தவப்பன் தன் ஒப்பார் இல்லப்பன் தந்தனன் தனதாள் நீழலே. Till now Markandeya has not got what he wanted. What did he want? Moksham. Then he went to another kshetram called Tirucherai. Saranatha Swami said, I will give you moksham towards the end of this janma. When will this end of this janma come? So he went to Uttarakhand. At the foothills of Naranarayana Parvatam, he had one small Parnakashala and started meditating on the Lord. The Lord appeared and asked, what do you want? Markandeya said, see, I've heard that you create, you sustain, and you're a part of the dissolution of this universe. I want to see how pralayam happens. No, we all, besides the normal questions we'll get, எப்படி படைக்கிறார் பெருமாள், நம்ம கவலையா அது, எப்படியோ படைச்சுட்டு போட்டோம். How will the pralayam happen, sir? I want to understand how that pralayam happens. Markandeya asked, the Lord wanted to teach him a lesson in a good way. He said, Markandeya, close your eyes. He closed. Open. He opened. Those two large hills that were overpowering in front of him collided with each other. Stones burst. The river of Alakananda and Bhagirathi started swelling. The trees were uprooted. There was only the ocean of deluge, Pralayarnavam, in front of his eyes. Markandeya started swimming. He knew swimming. He started swimming. Nothing survived. The TV and refrigerator given in the last election, all of it was floating. So when everything was floating, he saw no iota, not a single person living. While Markandeya was browsing through what could be an element of surprise, he came across some blue color stone, mustard in size, going left to right, right to left. He started swimming towards it. There he saw one beautiful leaf, Vatadalam, upon which was a little boy with a hue of sapphire and probably some shades of emerald. This little boy was so cozying up into the leaf. The leaf, they didn't even know where the tree was. At that point in time, he didn't know how to check whose child it is. He was worried if the child would tumble and fall into the deep waters of the ocean of deluge. He asked, "Who are you, my dear child?" The child took his foot and started chewing the toe. Why did he chew? Why was he chewing that? Why was he sucking it? Narayana Tirtha, the composer of Krishna Leela Tarangini, in his Tarangam says, it seems devotees of various geographies go in the presence of the Lord. They say, your foot looks like Shondesh. Your foot is so sweet like the Channa poise, Gude Roshugulla. It's so tasty. It looks like Putarekulu. Bandar, very good. Bandar laddu. It looks like Kakinada, Kaja. Mysore, Ambalappuzha, Payasam. Ende oru uttaram kittitelle. Your foot is so sweet, every devotee says. So Narayana Tirtha says, the Lord was confused. Is my foot so sweet? Let me suck that and see. So he sucked, it seems. So he sucked. Sir, how do you know that he sucked his toe? I don't know. TSR Gokul Santal says it. Kararavindena padaravindam mukharavinde viniveshayantam vatasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasa smarami balam mukundam manasa smarami. Now he still did not get who this boy was. The boy revealed Mahalakshmi on his chest, says Markandeya to Yudhishthira in the Vanaparva of Mahabharata. Then he spotted, oh, this is our Vishnu, the Lord in our SV temple, our Shweta temple. He is the Lord. The boy opened his mouth and said, like the vacuum cleaner. Markandeya jumped into his mouth. He was pulled. Literally what he should have seen. He should have seen the esophagus, the bile juice coming from the liver, some insulin coming from the islets of Langerhans of the pancreas, the gallbladder without the stones, the small and the large intestine. This is what he should have seen. He didn't see that. Markandeya, when he went inside the kukshi of that little boy, saw Naranarayana Parvatam, saw Alakananda river flowing, a beautiful hermitage, and Markandeya seated outside that hermitage meditating. So Markandeya was seeing Markandeya. He was surprised. Then he understood, as a primitive mortal, I may have the opportunity to relish and cherish the attributes of the Lord and not get into the details of His creation. I have made a grave mistake by getting into questions which is beyond my syllabus. While he thought of it, closed his eyes and opened, he was again back outside that ashrama. See, today we talk about the last inception, the curious case of Benjamin Button, right? How time travel happens in the prisoner of Azkaban. So this is in a way a combination or a concoction of both, or probably this incident has inspired. So that is why Tyagaraja says in his Kshetram, I have been asking you, O my Lord, to please bear me, to give me moksham. But you seem to not hear out my request. Probably you think that I am too big for you to handle. Didn't you keep the entire universe in your kukshi? Will carrying one Tyagaraja within you be so heavy? Shri Vasudeva Andakotla Kukshi Vundi Brova Bharama Raghura Manan Vokati. Nanokati ante to support one person. Is it so heavy for you? So we have Vatapatra Shayanam. This is called Vatapatra Shayi. Then we have another pending portion. Sir, this is Matsyavataram. There was a king in the Pradesham of Pandyas, Madurai. His name was Satyavrata. He was a Dramida Desha Raja. He was doing Arghyam Pradhanam by taking the waters of Kritamala. Who is Kritamala? Vaijayantimala's sister. Who is Kritamala? Vaigai. River Vaigai is called Kritamala. So while he was taking the waters, he saw a little fish. He thought, oh, I have to take care of this fish. He put that inside his kamandalam because there was more water in it. The fish enlarged. Then he took and put that into a ghatam. It grew further. Then he put that into a larger container. It grew further. Then he thought he'll put that back to Kritamala. That is when an ethereal voice said, in a few days from now, there shall be deluge in the waters of the rivers around this region. And for survival, take specimens of the flora and the fauna that you see around in a boat. Can you relate it to some other incident? In the Western theology. Now, this boat was arranged. Now you may wonder, sir, was there deluge? Sangam texts in the early Tamil days mention of floods in Madurai. So that is why we divide Sangam period into Talaichangam, Idaichangam, Kadaichangam. And Madurai was very well known in the north of India. Some will say, no sir, how was it known? Pandyas existed even during those times. How do we know? The city of Madurai was believed to have been protected by snakes. So in Sanskritam it was called Uragapuri. And in Tamil it was called Alavai. So we had one king, after performing Avabhrita Snanam, after completing Ashwamedham, who went to take part in the Swayamvaram of Indumati. Who is Indumati? Any guess? Indumati. Dasharatha's mother, Ajapatni. So while introducing the kings who are standing for the Swayamvaram who took part in Indumati, Indumati's friend Sunanda says, here is the king of Pandya who performed Avabhrita Snanam from the city of the snakes. So there is mention of Pandya, there is mention of the river, all that. So there was deluge. Now, the fish, the Lord said, I will appear as the fish. You can attach yourself to my horn. Will fish have horns? But there is a longhorn cow fish. I don't remember its binomial name. It will have horn-like structures. So this was attached, the boat was attached, Saptarishi stood within it, and in that time period of escorting them from the deluge waters, it is said that the quintessential knowledge of the Vedas was imparted to this king by Matsya. Why did the Lord come as Matsya? There is another tale mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kale nagata nidrasya dhatu shishaishor bali mukhato nisrinan vedan hayagrivoontike harat. While you're listening to lectures of Vedanta in Kalakshepam pattern, there is a juncture where the person who tells the lectures should stop. Did I tell you about this? No. You should stop at one occasion when the student yawns. There is a vakyam. Because while listening to Vedanta, if the student yawns, Shastram says, till then what they have listened may slowly go out of their memory. Now yawn. So, Brahma once yawned. After incessant production in Bharatam and China, he wanted to take some rest. He yawned. As he yawned, whatever teachings he had received of the Vedas went away. Then he started crying like a schoolboy, kindergarten boy who leaves the book and comes home. That is when the Lord found who had taken the Vedas in the sound form. We talk about IPR rights, how intellectual property rights are taken, right? Who has taken this knowledge in a very secretive fashion. They found an asura called Hayagriva. Sir, Hayagriva is the Lord. So Hayagriva, there are two people in our Puranas. One, the incarnation of the Lord called Hayagriva. There is an asura also called Hayagriva. Hayagrivontike harat. Then the Lord took the form of the fish to check where this asura had gone. He had got some place near an island and he had situated all those sound files there. So the Lord had to incarnate as a fish. Nirmagna Shrutijala Marganadasha Dattakshanayr Vikshanayhi Antastanva Divara Vindagahanan Audanvati Namapan. So the Lord went as fish. Now why did he go as fish? For which there is a beautiful description given by Venkatadhwari Kavi in a poem called Lakshmi Sahasram. He says, Bhuyishtam tava drishtireva kamale bhutim chirat proshitam bhuyopyanayati kshanaditi nunam vaktum ghrina varidihi devastavaka drishti rupa managham meenavatare vahan. So the Lord is often massaged with the lotus hands of Mahalakshmi. So the Lord keeps looking at Mahalakshmi. How beautiful she is. How is Mahalakshmi? For her everything is associated with lotus. Padma Priye, Padmini, Padmahaste, Padmalaye, Padmadalayatakshi. So she has a face which looks like the countenance of a newly blossomed lotus. Her eyes look so beautiful. She has palms which are as soft as the lotus. In those palms which are as soft as the lotus, she carries lotuses. She sits on the lotus. She has the smell of the lotus, Padma Gandhini. Right? So she has got the smell of a lotus. She sits on a lotus. Her palms are like lotus. She carries the lotus. She has got the lotus garland. She has got face like that of a lotus. But how are her eyes? Her eyes are like a fish. Fish. Madurayil paranda meen kodiyai un kangalil. So he has got idea from Bhagavatam, the poet. So Mahalakshmi's eyes look like the fish. Now the Lord keeps looking at Mahalakshmi. He was so inspired of her eyes. But every time he took an avataram, he took the avataram that has eyes like the petals of a lotus. But he was inspired of her eyes. He wanted eyes like her. He couldn't incarnate with eyes like that of a fish. So he became the fish, says the poet. Now, as he went in search of as a fish, wherever he went in search of, the beauty is that fish, so he was inspired of the eyes from Mahalakshmi that looked like a fish, so he became the fish. So how were his eyes when he incarnated as a fish? Puranam tells, Matsyaha Kamalalochanaha. Eyes are like a lotus. Matsyaha Kamalalochanaha. Why he took the incarnation of a fish? Because he was inspired of. Now, why was he inspired of Mahalakshmi? Because Mahalakshmi is referred to by the shortest name, Shri. Shrir ityeva cha namate bhagavati. Shri. In Sanskritam, Shri means Vedam. Because he has to go in search of Vedam, it was a twofold effort. So he had to go in search of the Vedam, which is called Shri. His consort is also called Shri. Shri has eyes like a fish. He while incarnating as a fish, he has eyes like that of a lotus. Now the Lord went, he retrieved the Vedas, the sound files, gave it back to Brahma and said, don't keep losing it again and again, I won't come every time. But every time Brahma will lose, he will come. Once again, Brahma loses, he will come as Hamsa. Now, this is Matsyavataram. With this, we have completed 9 skandams successfully. To some extent, I would say roughly about 8,000 shlokas. Now I have to complete another 9,000 in the next 2.5 days. 2.5. Let's come to Sri Krishna Avataram. We spoke about how Devaki and Vasudeva were languishing in the prison of Mathura. After losing 6 children, she gave birth to the 7th. The 7th was transitioned and transported to the Garbham of Vasudeva's another wife called Rohini. This boy who was born was very handsome to look at. Ramayatiti Ramaha. Ram was his name. But there were too many Rams. There was Jairam. Who's Jairam? Jamadagni's son Ram, Parashuram. There was D Ram, Dasharatha Ram. Now he will be V Ram. So there will be a lot of confusion. Same name. So they called him by an attribute even the little boy showcased, which was Balam. So he was called Balaram. Garbhasankarshanattam vai, since he was akarshanam, pulled from one uterus to the other, akarshana tasmai sankarshanat bhavet, sankarshana he was called. Prahuhu sankarshanam bhuvi rameti lokaramanat balam balabuduchayat. While Krishna was housed in the Garbham of Devaki, at the same time, around the same time, Yashoda was also pregnant. Who was she pregnant with? The Lord had commanded Yogamaya to do the honors. So, Gachhadevi Vrajam Bhadre Gopa Gobhiralankritam Rohini Vasudevasya Bharyaste Nanda Gokule Anyasyakam Samvigna Vivareshu Vasantihi Devakya Jatare Garbham Sheshakhyam Dhamamamakam. Then the Lord said, since you shall be extremely pivotal in Krishna Avataram from now on at the corner of every village and city, O Devi, they will worship you. Durgeti Bhadrakaliti Vijaya Vaishnaviti Cha Kumuda Chandika Krishna Madhavi Kanyaketi Cha Maya Narayani Shani Sharadetyambiketi Cha. They will call you Sharada, Ambika, Chandika, Malika, Devi, Katyayani. They will call you and they will worship you. Now, as Devaki was pregnant, in that Muhurtam of Jayanti, she delivered the Lord. After delivering the Lord, who's Krishna now, in a few minutes, Ashtami Tithi came to a close. Navami Tithi had just begun. At that point in time, in that auspicious hour, Yashoda delivered that little girl. Now, for the safety of this little boy who had to escape from the clutches of his own uncle, it was commanded that the boy be shifted to Gokulam. So every day, jail food used to come in one basket. So Devaki had a plan. She thought she'll empty this basket and keep the child in it. You know Chhatrapati Maharaj, Shivaji Maharaj? Okay. Now this Shivaji Maharaj was imprisoned by Aurangzeb. Now while he was in the cell, in his young age, he used to attend to Bhagavata Saptaham. So he got an idea. I will get inside the fruit basket and escape. So he escaped. So listening to Bhagavata Saptaham has been very beneficial. Now in this basket, this little boy was kept. Devaki felt a lot troubled because the boy was just born. 4 hands. Tamadbhutam balakam ambujekshanam. Why with 4 hands? One commentator says, because he gives chaturvidha purushartham, dharma, artha, kama, moksham. So he has 4 hands. Why does he have eyes like that of a lotus? Vedantins say, lotus is the flower that is untouched by the dirtiness from where it rises, from the marshes, but it looks beautiful. Despite being born amidst us and amongst us, the Lord is unfazed and untouched with the impurities of this bhumandalam. So he had eyes like that of a lotus. So the Lord was carried in the casket. He was having 4 hands. The mother said, Upasamharate Brahman. My brother may come and kill you, my child. At least for my sake, please keep these 2 hands. Hide them till my brother exists. Please hide them. The boy hid them. If you're born with 32 teeth, my brother will spot you as an extraordinary child and kill you. Throw these 32 teeth away. The boy took each one and threw it. That is why we all celebrate Rama, who went to the forest while he was at the age of 24. We say, Pitravakya Paripalanaro. He listened to his father while he was 24. This boy listened to his mother while he was born. Is Rama, who listened to his father at 24 years, great? Or Krishna, who listened to his mother while he was immediately born, great? Sir, आप जय श्री राम, ये क्या है? आप राम जी को ऐसे कर रहे हैं. This weekend I have Ramayanam in Houston. That time Krishna will face his dance. See, when Chandra, Soma, comes in coordination and in the presence of Nakshatra, Swati, it is a belief in the literature that pearls are born from the oysters. Swati Nakshatram, pearls will be born. Rohini was the most favorite wife of Chandra. She was the page 3 wife. She got upset. ये क्या है चंद्र जी? आप जब स्वाति जी के साथ हो तो मोती पैदा होती है, और जब मेरे साथ हो क्या होगा? He said, wait for Ashtami Tithi to come. So when Rohini came in combination with Chandra, the blue sapphire Krishna was born. Swati sapatni kilatarakanam mukta phalanam janani tiroshat sarohini neelam asuta ratnam kritaspadam gopa vadhu kucheshu. Pleasant it was inside the cell. She put this boy into that casket. She had tears rolling down her cheeks. She had to coax herself and separate herself from this little boy. She gave this casket with the little child to Vasudeva and said, please take him to safety. The beauty is, when the child was given to Vasudeva, there were shackles around his hands, fetters. As the boy came into the hands, the fetters were unfettered and they fell. Vedanta Deshika says, is this surprising to the one who has come to release and relieve people from the karma shackles? How tough is it to release him from the iron shackles? Shrinkhalam. So, while this happened, he says, Charamatas charunadiva devaki parimudachyuta shrinkalatas thirat nikhila bandha nivartakam sanidho vilagnam nigalasya kimadbhutam. Now, Vasudeva had to carry that child. Then as he went out of the jail, doors opened by themselves, automatic doors. They all opened. As he went out of Mathura jail, it was pouring. Yamuna the river had started swelling. He said, how will I take a newborn child? The child shall get drenched and can't even survive. But he had no other go. Yogamaya had commanded, he kept the child up. Then he thought, no other go, I have to go. As he was proceeding, not a single drop of water fell on him. What kind of a 3D rain is this? He looked up, a fair complexioned, 1,000 hooded Adisesha was the umbrella. He quietly put his head down. He didn't want to disturb and agitate the snake. So as he went, the snake was wondering. Adisesha was wondering, the rain waters have to fall on me. I am the umbrella. Why isn't it falling on me? He, with his hoods, lifted it up. As he lifted his hoods, he saw Garuda flying at the top, being an umbrella to Adisesha. Shrutimayo iti pannagaha, says Deshika. So, I generally say this is called Bhagavatam sandwich. Because you have Bhumi Devi, atop Bhumi Devi is Vasudeva, on Vasudeva's head is Vasudeva Krishna, over him is Adisesha, over him is Garuda. Garuda and Bhumi Devi are the bread slices. Adisesha and Vasudeva are the cucumber or tomato pieces. The chutney which comes in the middle, Purnam, that is Krishna, because Vedam says Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat. So this is Bhagavatam sandwich, no calories. You can take as much as you want. So as Krishna was leaving Mathura, waters of Yamuna were swelling. Simple physics, water flows from higher level to lower level. You need to put a lot of external force to push it back. Normally, naturally, it won't flow. Simple physics. But in Krishna Avataram, as Vasudeva got into the waters, as the waters started rising, slowly the Yamuna waters touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Because she wanted association with Krishna. As soon as she touched, she went down in her levels, and the water which was running from the Kalinda Parvatam started going backwards against the simple law of physics. Why? In Srimad Ramayanam, after Hanuman has caused severe damage to Lanka, now Ravana calls for a board meeting. He says, what should we do? Because this monkey has destroyed the entire country. Should we go to IMF? That time itself Lanka came to IMF. So should we ask for a package? What should we do now? Kumbhakarna, batao to. So Kumbhakarna said, you should have asked this question, what should we do now, before abducting Sita. You took your own unilateral decision. After the product has failed, then why should you ask whether the product is there in the launch phase or not? You should have consulted. Now you can't do anything. Trust me, Ravana, and if you don't give back Sita, your defeat and my death is inevitable. Your death is inevitable, Kumbhakarna says in Yuddha Kandam, as much as the waters that have flown from the Kalinda Parvatam called Yamuna can never go back to the mountain. But Kumbhakarna was unaware that in Krishna Avataram even that will happen. So the waters of Yamuna went back. And Vasudeva has to reach with the child to the other side, which is Gokulam. Now if you go to a new place, you need GPS, correct? How will Vasudeva know which house is that of Nandagopala? It was pouring. Vedanta Deshika comes up with something unique. He says, at the end of every street in a village, there will be a village deity statue. He will be having a huge moustache and a sword. He will keep looking like this. When Krishna was born, even the inanimate object gained force. So the sword that he was holding high like this went like this, so that they became arrow marks. And so he was guided to the house. Andal puts it in a beautiful pasuram. Oruthi maganai pirandu oriravil oruthi maganai olirthu valara tarikilanagi தான் தீங்கு நினைந்த கருத்தை பிழைப்பித்து கஞ்சன் வயிற்றினில் நெருப்பென நின்ற நெடுமாலே நெருப்பென நின்ற நெடுமாலே உன்னை அறுத்தித்து வந்தோம் பறை தருதியாகில் திருத்தக்க செல்வமும் சேவகமும் யாம்படி வருத்தமும் தீர்ந்து மகிழ்ந்தேலோரெம்பாவாய் ஒருத்தி மகனாய். Krishna was born to that one lady. This is not even poetry. Sir, நான் ஒருத்தருக்கு பிறந்தேன், ஒருத்தருக்கு தான் பிறக்க முடியும். ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து Krishna was born to that one lady. What, sir? Everybody is born to one lady. You cannot have triple mitochondria. There will be only one. One in Bharatiya languages and even in English is used in two contexts. When you denote the number one, how many glasses of milk you had? One. That is number one. You keep talking about somebody. Let's say you're making some positive gossip about somebody. That person incidentally comes. I was telling you about a person, right? He's the one. That the one becomes a definite article. So you have two kinds of articles, indefinite and definite. A and an are indefinite. The or the is definite. So you use the or the before vowel sounding words or consonant sounding words. The book and the elephant. So here when I say he is the one, so that means I'm saying he is the unique one. There it doesn't mean the number one. It means I've been speaking about this person whom you know of. So in Tamil, let's say, every Bharatiya language you can take into account. Let's say we do a complete health checkup. Lipid profile, good, bad, everything. Then pre, post, sugar, HbA1c. Then we do our blood, complete blood count, thrombocytes, erythrocytes, leukocytes. Then you also do of the erythrophils. And then you do a urine culture, urine test. The doctor is advised to do all of this. And then you take the reports to the doctor, he goes through. That minute is a very, very tense moment. Whether we will survive or he'll keep doing this. And then he'll say, looks fine. This one thing, he'll round off one thing. This occurs maybe 1 in 1,000. You are that one. Aayirathil naan oruvan. So, despite having a choice of being born to many, many, many women, the Lord chose Devaki. So, she was the one, the unique one. Oruthi maganai pirandu. Despite having the choice to be nurtured and nourished by many women, he chose to be nourished by Yashoda. Oruthi maganai olirthu. See, let's say we have two objects. Grammar says when you speak of one, you need to denote the other one as the other one. I told you that I have two kids. He's the one whom I mentioned. Oh yeah, he's the other one. You say one and the other one. Oruthi maganai pirandu, mattoruthi maganai olirthu. Matru should have come as per Tamil grammar. Other one should have come. But Andal doesn't say the word matru, other. Why? Because Krishna's transport and transition from Mathura to Gokulam was so quick that he didn't give ample opportunity for Andal to say the word matru. Oruthi maganai olirthu. So she didn't have the time to say matru. See, generally in Shastriya Sangeetam, there is one place. How many of you are learning Carnatic music? So, there is one place, that's one portion in Carnatic music that you will come across called Niraval. This Niraval means you take up one line from the composition and give a glimpse to the listener of the beauty of that ragam, and you hover around the lyrics and then come back to that line. Iha paragati nine indira ramana. Iha paragati nine indira ramana. Iha paragati nine indira ramana. Iha paragati. I took my father to one of the concerts. Adutha vari marandutaro. Oruthi maganai pirandu. Oruthi maganai olirthu. So Krishna goes there. Now he is guided by the statues with the arrow marks. Then he manages, Vasudeva enters the mansion of Nandagopa. Everybody is asleep. She is just delivered. There's a little girl next to her. He feels very bad to even swap the children. That was not legal at all. But he swapped the children. He kept the baby boy, took the baby girl. Like how the lotus is supported, he took that little girl and came back to the jail. So while he came back to the jail premises, and this girl started crying at a loud tone, Kamsa, who was waiting for this moment, came. He saw this baby girl. He thought he could just kill her, thrash her on the stone, like how he managed to kill every other child. While he took the child escaped from his clutches and went into the sky. Now, how did she go into the sky? There has to be an example. The simile given by the author is, like how a Vishnu devotee Vaishnava escapes from the Yamapasham, she escaped. She went with her 8 hands. Amba, Shambhavi, Chandramauli, Abala, Aparna, Uma Parvati, Kali, Haimavati, Shivadrinayani, Katyayani, Bhairavi, Savitri, Navayauvana, Shubhakari, Samrajya Lakshmi Prada, Chidrupi, Paradevata, Bhagavati, Sriraja Rajeshwari. She went and stood. Aham asesha surasura mohini yavanika madhukaitapamardinaha, says Vedanta Deshika. She shouted in a voice, you think you can kill me, but the person who has the ability to vanquish you, kill you, is already born. He's safe. I have protected him. Do whatever you want. She went. This protection is done traditionally in those dynasties by the presence of a fortress. There's a fortress. That fortress acts as protection to the people. Fortress which protects is called Durga. So this child who protected her brother was also called Durga. She was a very unique fortress. She protected through love. New or contemporary in Sanskrit means Nava. So she is called Navadurga. Navadurga Mahakali Brahma Vishnu Shivatmika, we say, right? That is why, since she protected like how a sister protects, a doting sister protects her brother, she is regarded emotionally as the sister to the Lord. Be very careful with, now people will extrapolate, he is A positive, she is also A positive. No, it's an emotional bond. That is why it is invoked time and again. Varaguru Guhajanani Madashamani Mahishasuramardini Mandagamani Mangalavara Pradayini Sarasi Janabhasodari Bimbadari Chit Prati Bimbadari Bindunadava Shankari Shankari Ambuja Ramana Sodari Adari Ambari Kadambari Nilambari Amba Nilayadakshi Padmanabha Sahodari Unmesha Nimishotpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavali. So this girl child went into the sky and said, my brother is already born, he is well protected. Now let's see what. Now from that day onwards, Kamsa never had proper sleep. All these days he didn't have sleep. Now it became worse. No amount of Restil tablets helped him. Now, on the next morning, Yashoda was very tired after the delivery. She woke up. She saw the boy, extremely attractive. She checked the gender, it was a boy. She was told by her obstetrician and gynecologist it would be a girl. So she had bought all jewelry pertaining to a girl. Clothes in pink. And the time had lapsed, that 15 days return period had gone away. So she didn't know what to do with this. So she thought, until he realizes who he is, let me dress him up like a girl. So Krishna in every kshetram will have any and every dress. That is why Krishna will sport a septum. You know a septum? Which is called mullak. Worn by the girl, he sports. Because of this no return back policy. Narishu Lalita Devi, amongst the women, who is the most prettiest? The prettiest of the lot. Narishu Lalita Devi. Lalita, Parameshwari is beautiful. Purusheshu cha Raghavaha. Amongst the men, Raghava, Rama. Tayoho sammelanam Krishne. Both their beauties came together in Krishna, it seems. Sarupam kena varnyate. How can we describe that beauty? So, Yashoda, she dressed up Krishna. Now, she had a group, WhatsApp group of her friends. She said, finally delivered. They all said, congratulations, wow, fabulous, fantabulous, excellent, Yasho, yes, very good, everything they said. Now they were so elated. See, Krishna's birth was so beautiful that it inherently brought joy in the people for no reason. So they all started running towards the house of Nandagopa to see the child, irrespective of whether it will be infectious to the child, whether there is ashauchakalam, nothing. They all ran. Now, how did they experience Krishna's birth? Shuka Brahmam said, Parikshit, time bahut kam hai. You have got only 7 days. So I will outsource this to Periyalvar. Periyalvar has some time in Madurai. Let him sing. வண்ணமாடங்கள் சூழ் திருக்கோட்டியூர் கண்ணன் கேசவன் நம்பி பிறந்தினில் எண்ணெய் சுண்ணம் எதிரெதிர் தூவிட. They mixed color and oil and sprayed on each other. See, this is very similar to the pitch curry which we use in Holi. But this has been mentioned by Periyalvar of Madurai, deep south, 1650 years back. So there were traces of this festival in the south also. Ennai shunnam edir tuvida kannan mutram kalandalarayitre. The entire vicinity around Nandagopala's house became slippery. But people didn't mind. They came running. They knew they would slip. Oduvar. They came running. Viluvar. Uhandalipar. Naduvar. Nampiran. Yenguttan yenbar. Paduvargalum. Palparai kotta nindru. Aduvargalum. Aitrai padiye. They all came running. And they said, he's so handsome. Yashoda, you are not that great. என்னடி நீ சுமாரா தானே இருக்க, இதென்ன இவ்வளோ அழகா இருக்கு. So in the due course, generally there is something called as post-pregnancy weight. But the women in her vicinity said, Yashoda, you seem to have lost weight. Are you following Anjali? Mukherjee. No, Yashoda said, why are you even asking me? Please do listen to the rigmarole of worries that I have to undergo. If I keep him in the cradle, he kicks and comes out. If I hold him in my hip, he slides down. But if I keep him down, he moves somewhere. Just by going around him, I seem to have lost loads of weight. Kidakil tottil கிழிய உதைத்திடும் எடுத்து கொள்ளில் மரங்கயிறுத்திடும் ஒடுக்கி புல்கில் உதரத்தே பாய்ந்திடும் மிடுக்கிலாமையால் நான் மெலிந்தேன் நங்காய். I got thin by just going around this boy. Then there is another place where Alvar says, now you have to give him good bath. So in the north of India, there is a paddhati of applying mustard oil over the baby's body and leaving the child to the rays of the sun to get vitamin D, which you all don't get most of the times. So, to leave the child and then take the child back to give him good enjoyable bath. So there will be a beautiful way of mixing the hot and the cold water together. And Alvar says she used to make gooseberry paste and put that into the waters, because if the waters by mistake fall into his mouth, he should find it sweet. So then she used to take her gagra up, keep the child between the crevice found between the two legs, and then used to pour water on him. As she used to pour water, the boy was worried if he would slide and fall. So he would hold her feet tightly. Alvar says, we come to your temple to hold your feet, and you are holding the feet of a lady who doesn't understand the basics of good hygiene. What is this? This is Krishna Avataram. And then she used to tell, you've consumed so much of milk, I need to clean your tongue. Show your tongue in the Bhagavad. So she needed a tongue cleaner. Alvar says she has been used to taking bath by rubbing turmeric over her, raw turmeric. So over a period of time with continuous usage, the pulp portion over the turmeric would be exhausted, leaving only a hard portion. She used to use the remains of the turmeric and then used to clean his tongue. Here is the Pasuram. Uriyai mutrithu. Here. Kayyum kalum nimirnda gadara neer payya aatti panjiru manjalal ayya navadi thalai. So she used to say, keep your tongue out. She used to clean with the turmeric. And as she used to peep, she wanted to check what is there inside his mouth. Vayyam yezhum kandal pillai vayule. She saw the entire NASA. All the worlds within. Just by after cleaning. So she used to go swoon, and later when she used to get up, she had no memory of what she had seen. While this was happening on one side, Kamsa was worried. In the vicinity are there children who can vanquish me. So he had his own group, V7. All of them had gone to jail one or many times. Agha, Keshi, Pralamba, Baka, Baki. Who is Baki? Baka's sister, Putana, was called Baki in Bhagavatam. So they were the members. So he dispatched Putana. Putana, you go. You have done super PhD, specialization in killing young children. You go. Kadachidantarhita putanatmakam safprayukta kilakapi maya nidra paradhina jane nishite vrajam yashodha kritir avivesha. Now, Putana disguised herself very well. She went to Prabhat. Bangalore people here? Prabhat Gutta. So in those days in Bangalore, if you had to go for natakams, there used to be a place which used to hire, where we can go hire all these accessories. It was called Prabhat. So she went to Prabhat and she disguised herself as a very, very enchanting mistress. And then she walked with a beautiful lotus in her hand. As she walked, people kept looking at her. Tol kandar, thole kandar, tol kamalam, tal kandar, thale kandar. She was so beautiful. As she went into the village of Gokulam to kill every newborn child, she heard the cry of a boy. She followed the cry. She reached the front quarters of Nandagopala's house. She knocked at the door. Madam, somebody here? Yashoda comes from the backyard. Yashoda was the working partner of Nandagopala Dairy Products. So he was into marketing, she was into brewing. So she came from the backyard. Who is this? I'm a wet nurse. I lost a child. I need to feed my milk to a child. I believe there's a child crying in your house. Can I feed? Can I have the opportunity to feed? Sure, please take my child. He's always a glutton. He keeps asking for milk. Take this child. Putana kept the child on her lap. She said, Madam, you take care. You go take care. So Yashoda went to the backyard. As she went, Putana, she didn't know who this child was. She wanted to kill every possible child. So as she kept her bosom into the child, and she had smeared a very virulent poison, the child sucked the poison first. Something very similar to hemlock of the Socrates times. He sucked the poison. Then Bhagavatam says, as he sucked further, milk came. Medically slightly less possible, because until the lady is pregnant and has delivered, those glands may not have the ability to lactate. But she secreted milk is what Shuka Brahmam says. How do we compromise with this? Because there is a condition called galactoria, where the lady, even without getting pregnant or delivering the child, upon certain stimulation can secrete milk. So she would have been stimulated with the lotus like countenance of the Lord and inherently would have secreted milk, and that was consumed by the Lord. With such force he pulled it further, the poison came, the milk came. He pulled further, the poison came, the milk came. He pulled with utter force. The Jivatma also came along with it. He didn't kill. By mistake the Jivatma came. Amnaya gandharudhita spuritada roshtam Atsla vilekshana manukshata mandahasam. She is laughing at him. Look how I'm going to kill you. She gave a smile. She was oblivious of the mischievous smile that the boy gave in return. You come to kill me. Let's see. So as he pulled, Amnaya gandharudhita spuritada roshtam Atsla vilekshana manukshata mandahasam. Gopala dimbavapusham kuhana jananyaha pranasyanandanamavaimi param pumamsam. Did she die, sir? She died. But she emanated a very torturous noise. Because, did I talk to you on day 2 about Kapilopadesham? You remember? 6:30 to 7. That time I said that there are 3 sticks called Tristhunam. I said Tristhuna Kshobanam. So the Jivatma, first the Pancha Indriyas will start dysfunctioning and the Jivatma will be given an indication to exit the Stula Shariram. But this process has to happen slowly. When Krishna pulled, the Jivatma has to come at once. So the entire pain that you see in stages will be condensed in one go. So it is an excruciating pain that a person has to experience in sudden death. While the Jivatma exits, it will be so excruciating as what Vedanta Deshika has to give a simile. He says it will be similar to the noise that a human listens to in his or her dream on the 7th day of the 7th month in the 70th year of his life. That night is called Bhaimarathi. It's a very excruciating pain. That is why to overcome that, people do Bhima Ratha Shanti. Gopasya sambhuya guhopamakshim Swaghosha vishwadita Swaghosha nirhadita vishwagosham Gata sumaikshanta nishacharim tam Bhima kritim bhaima rathim ivanyam. With that noise, because of that excruciating pain, this lady who had come to kill the child lay dead. Her body fell, breaking that living room's wall. So her body was lying on that street. Nandagopala came. He found such a big body. Now a big $1 million question, how to dispose this body? Yashoda came running, Krishna, tum kidhar ho, tum kidhar ho. Now the baby is missing. Then they said, no, I see one small blue color ant going at top of this lady's body. Then they brought one ladder, put it on that body, climbed up and saw this little boy, took him, and now they had to dispose this body. So to dispose the body, they started taking weapons and they said, you cut this side, that side, I will cut this side. Pichumani! Pichumani said, okay, I will take this side, Nanda. He started cutting. Chandramouli! Mr. Chandramouli! Chandramouli also started cutting. As they cut, what they should have seen, gushing blood, stinking skin, they should have smelled. But Shukabrahmam says, they smelled cycle brand and Mangaldeep. Don't think they are paying me, just like that. Gokul Santol. So, why? Because when her body came in association with the Lord's body, she became like him. Pavitranam pavitram yo. Mangalanam schamangalam. So while her body, so everybody now had demand. See, please give her finger. They said, I want that finger. I want to light it in my house. One said, no, give her foot. So there was demand for Putana's body. Putanadi samharam purushottamavataram Shitala Viharam Shri Rukminidaram Cheta Shri Balakrishnam. Now, there is a beautiful concept that Vedanta Deshika says. He says, there is a Tatkratu Nyayam. Tatkratu Nyayam is an aphorism that you derive from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna, in the last minute, whomever and whatever you think of, you shall be that. So if I think of a deer, I'll become? From whose charitram do we know this? Oh, you illa yaradu. Pa, super. Now, Jada Bharata charitram, we know if you think of the deer, you'll become the deer. If you think of the nurse, you'll become? Nurse. Now, don't tell me you have to go to some place. Okay? So, you will be born as a nurse. Suppose you think of somebody consuming the milk of a lady, you should also be consuming the milk as per this Nyaya Shastram. Vedanta Deshika says, here is the exception to the general rule. If you listen to Krishna consuming the milk of Putana, and at that moment the Jivatma leaves the body, then it doesn't mean you will be born to a lady drinking milk. You will never be born again. If you listen to Krishna drinking the milk of Putana, you don't have to drink the milk of any other lady. Punarjanmam na babhuva. So after this incident, Yashoda was a lot startled. She thought, how can I protect my child? She said, please fetch me the nails of a tiger and a tortoise. I will want to create a black string with all of these hanging from it. It's called ethnic jewelry now. So, I will put this around his hand and leg, like an amulet. It's called Darat, Raksha. If you look at some of our ministers, it will be a big thing. Red color, blue color, all colors will be there. So she said, let me tie this to Krishna. Now Krishna was smiling. You are tying the nails of Kurma to the one who became the Kurma. But he smiled. Vakshasthalyam tulasi kamala kaustubhair vaijayanti sarveshatvam kathayati taram rangadhamnasya dastam kurmavyagrina kaparimalair panchaheti yashoda. During Ramanuja's time, Ramanujacharya used to have a glimpse of Ranganatha in Srirangam. Looking at Ranganatha's Kritam, he used to say how great he is. Is he accessible to people like us? He's wearing sporting a crown that shows that he is supreme. Then as he used to come to the next sthanam, Vakshasthalam, he used to find the same necklace that Yashoda had adorned Krishna with in Ranganatha, telling that he is accessible even to his devotees. Kurmavyagri nakaparimalair panchaheti Yashoda. So after having tied all of this to Krishna, she wanted to sing a lullaby to him. So she wanted to arrange a cradle. She was one of the first customers of your city. She tried Amazon. But she wanted to customize that cradle. Customizing was not available. She brought the raw cradle and she wanted to customize. She wanted to gild it in 916 gold. But if you just gild it in gold, gold jewelry may not be that attractive until you stud it with beautiful gems. Even if the making charge increases, you still have to do it. Manikam katti, vairamidai katti, aani punnal seida vanna chirudottil. Manikam katti, vairamidai katti, aani punnal seida vanna chirudottil. Peni unakku piraman vidu thandan, peni unakku piraman vidu thandan. Mani kuralane talelo, Vayyamalandane talelo, Udayar kanamaniyodu vonmadulampu, இடைவிரவி கோத்த எழுத்தெழுகி நோடு விடையேறு காப்பாலி ஈசன் விடு தந்தான் உடையாய் அழேல் அழேல் தாலேலோ உலகம் மளந்தானே தாலேலோ வையமளந்தானே தாலேலோ. Then she thought, now I've got one lullaby in Tamil. She wanted one in Sanskritam. She searched on the map, very close to Periyarvar's Madurai, very close to Choladesham PS1 and PS2, was Narayana Tirtha. He said, Madam, I will also sing a few verses. Sadhu Janadhara Sarvabhauma Madhava Mamavadeva Krishna Madhava Mamavadeva Ambujalochana Kambushubhagriva Bimbadharaschandra Bimbanana Champeyana Sagra Lagna Sumauktika Sharadaschandra Janita Madana. One more outsourcing, he said, can I do? If you give to one foot contractor, he will outsource it to another subcontractor. So he outsourced it to Uttukadu Venkatakavi. Maninu Puradhari Rajagopala Maninu Puradhari Kankana Kinkini Kana Maninu. Then he said, I have to outsource it to Iriamandambi. ஓமண திங்கள் கிடாவோ நல்ல கோமள தாமர பூவோ பூவில் நிறഞ്ഞ മധുവോ മധു പൂർണ്യന്തു തന്നെ നിലാവോ പുത്തമ്പവിഴക്കൊടിയോ ചേരു തത്തകൾ കൊഞ്ഞും മൊഴിയോ ചാഞ്ചടിയാടും മയിലോ മൃദു പഞ്ചമം പാടും കുയിലോ. Finally, Krishna was put to sleep. Now, after this, the Gopika Stris came. They wanted to have a glimpse of Krishna. After they had a glimpse, they went outside. One lady said, you saw? He kept looking at me. The other lady said, no, you have a squint. He looked at me. Aho kumaro maidatta drishtir smitam kritam mam prativatsakena ehehi mamityupasartha panim Tvaisha kim kim na kritam vadhubihi. Then, after this drishyam, Yashoda teaches the child how to walk. Very premature, but still she teaches. Hold my hand. Keep, keep that foot forward. Don't go that side. Keep this foot forward. Vedanta Deshika says, he is the one who measured the worlds as Trivikrama. This lady teaches him how to walk. Padaistrivik kranti jagatrayam tam sambhavaya bhavita balabhavam karena samgrihya karambujagryam sancharayamasa shanair Yashoda. So Yashoda teaches. Then with this, she tells, call, now open your mouth and say, ma, tell me. ஈரேழு புவனங்கள் படைத்தவனை கையிலேந்தி ஷிராட்டி பாலூட்டி தாலாட்ட என்ன தவம் செய்தனை யசோதா எங்கும் நீரை பரபிரம்மம் அம்மா வென்றழைக்க என்ன தவம் செய்தனை. Now she puts her son to the protection. In those days in villages, it was a belief that if you keep a broomstick or a broken cart next to the child, no bad things, inauspicious things shall happen. So she kept the child next to the cradle next to a broken cart. The children there in the vicinity were playing a game called Lagori. Have you heard of this game called Lagori? Stones are put and then you have to throw. They were playing. Now this boy incessantly started crying. Yashoda was somewhere inside. Because the cart which was placed next to the boy with full force was trying to kill the child by coming very close to the boy. As the cart stick was coming very close. And as the boy was crying, how did he cry? In Tamil, there is a saying. Generally, people say, if the child cries, wheel, wheel. He literally said, wheel. Wheel. And as the Shakatam was coming, the boy with a little touch, feather touch, lotus-like foot touch, he just touched the Shakatam, and the Shakatam went flying high in the sky, which is an inspiration to most directors. 50 people will come hitting our hero. Our hero will just hit like this. 50 of them will fall. Nothing will happen to the hero. Avikaraya, Shuddhaya, Nityaya, Paramatmane. So these directors read Bhagavatam very often. They may not tell it in the public. So the Shakatam went and parts of it came down. See, if it's not collided with some other object, all of it should have come down. Bhattadri tells in Narayaniyam why some parts came and some parts didn't come. Those parts which came in contact with the Lord's foot attained moksham. So if at all any of you are going to moksham, in Vaikuntham when you enter, on the right hand side in the showcase, this Shakatam will be found. That time please remember this primitive mortal. I have told you. அங்கே போய் சொல்லுங்க, அவர் சொன்னார், ஏற்கனவே சியாட்டில் சொன்னார், சகனம் இருக்கும்னு சொன்னார், பார்த்தேளா இருக்குன்னா அதே தானே. If husband and wife, both of them go together. But many of them may not desire to live in the same place after. See, when I arrange heritage tours, generally people give their names, husband, wife, the husband, sister, that is very tough. Wife, sister, she will come. So they will all come. And buses are not customized as per our wants. There are two seats only together. So it may be like the husband, wife and the sister have to come on the other. We can't follow every rule in the book as per the desire. We make all those bus arrangements and give it to people. And in one of the yatras, I think it was Navadwaraka Pushkar, one lady came running to me. She said, "What have you done with the seating arrangement?" I said, "Ma'am, we have tried our level best. I'll check with the team. What have they done? What blunder is it? Please don't hang them. Please tell me what is the mistake." 13 and 14 has been given to us. Then when I checked 13, 14, husband, wife. "Ma'am, it has been given correctly. Why did you put that man next to me?" So if at all you go, Ekakina Rameta, if you go alone to Vaikuntham, you will find Shakatam there. So that is why after the first day lesson, the organizers of the temple separated the two genders. After Shakatasura Bhanjanam, there are many things that happen. One of the interesting things is when the boy develops a distaste to bathing. Krishna never liked bathing. So Yashoda found it very tough. Yashoda herself was not too inclined to bathing. She found her son reaching the zenith of having a distaste towards bathing. So she said, "Krishna, you have to come take bath." The boy asked, "What is the benefit of bathing?" She said, "You will appear clean, you will look much better." Krishna jumped into the waters of Yamuna. With a wet body, he rolled himself on the fine alluvial sand of Yamuna and came in front of her. He was dark. The powder above him was like as if argentum, silver was put into pieces and powder. So he looked so glistening and beautiful. He checked, "Do I look good like this or should I come clean?" She was mesmerized for a minute. "You look good this way." Then she said, No, you have to go take bath because I have to get you married to my brother's daughter called Neela, who's called Nappinai. If my daughter-in-law comes home and she spots that my son, who's her husband, isn't bathing, she will laugh at me. "Ennadi nee pillai valathirka? Kulika kuda theriyala. Nappinai kaanil sirikkum maanikkame en maniye manjanam maada nee varai." Nappinai kaanil sirikkum. My daughter-in-law will laugh at me. At least if I tell this, come take bath. Now, Gargacharya, there is one incident before this. Gargacharya comes. He is a family priest. He says, "Let's take Krishna, the baby Krishna, to the cowshed. I shall do the Namakaranam there." Then this boy was given the name. What was the name? Krishna. Krishna. Nakaram is there, right? Na is generally used, the one that annihilates will have this nat. So Krishna means the one who helps in removing or annihilating the sins. The other meaning to Krishna is dark. In Krishna, both the meanings of Krishna rested because he was dark and he also annihilated the sins. So if someone asks you why is the Lord called Krishna, he is black. No, he removes the sins. He is incidentally black. That's all. So we have to be very careful. The benefit of Saptaham should be felt in your everyday life. I am not a good teacher. So, this said, next comes Navanita Chauryam. Very interesting incident in Krishna Avataram. We have seen Krishna going behind butter. There is a Vedantic teaching here, which is butter is the consumable portion, bhogya vastu. And Krishna invariably used to break the pot that supported the butter. That pot is like the shariram. Butter is like the jivatma. Paramatma desires the jivatma. That is why Purandaradasa gives a very philosophical message. Taraka bindige nanirig hoguve tare bindigeya. Bindige hodadare onde kasu tare bindigeya. Bindu madavana gattakke hoguve tare bindigeya. Beautiful message Purandaradasa takes from Bhagavatam. Now, Krishna had to steal the butter. For stealing butter, Krishna, you don't have to steal in your own house. Right? He would always go to the next Pankajam Mami or Komalam Mami. In their house he used to steal. Why? Because generally, the food of another house will always taste better. The food may taste better, but one thing in my personal experience that I have known, Rama was an aristocratic child. He was born after a long lull, and then people were awaiting his birth in the palace. To Rama, who's born on Navami Tithi, Punarvasu Nakshatram, Punarpusam, what is the prasadam we make? Buttermilk, jaggery water. This is what we make. Krishna was born in a jail. Jail. Place of birth, Mathura jail. Every possible dish taught by Venkatesh and Yogambal is made. But Krishna has his own game. Something, I don't know, I'm talking from a very South Indian perspective. There is a bhakshanam called as chidai, which is made. There are two chidais, like Vedam, Shukla Yajurvedam, Krishna Yajurvedam. There are two chidais, one salt, one sweet. The salt chidai will generally bring memories of Deepavali in the house. It will burst. The other chidai, sweet chidai, will remind us of the Lord during either creation or destruction. In the destruction stage, the entire world will be in pieces. When you take that Vella chidai out itself, it will be in pieces. There will be cracks developed. Or if it comes in a full round shape, you will have a Herculean task to break it. Unbreakable. You need the help of another chidai. Probably those who have clapped have sensed it in your house. Personal experience always has a good connection. Now, Krishna, he would always go in search of butter from the other house. Like how, I have to give an example, like how, I don't know here, you're all very good people. In Bangalore, I'm talking from my experience. Early morning, 5 a.m., couples will go for a walk. Good. Doctor has said walk 10,000 steps, that bit fit, all is there. You have to walk 10,000 steps. Then only you can delay the entry of the priest to your house. Shubhamla mantathukku appuram vadyar varuvar. So, as people walk, they will carry a bag with them. I used to wonder why. They will pluck flowers like Periyalvar from others' houses. Why? They have flowers in their own house, but the flowers of the next house will always smell butter. Like how Krishna stole butter. Now, Krishna steals butter. Now, whenever we visualize Venkateshwara, Srinivasa Swami of Tirumala Tirupati, Srinivasa Mahatmyam says, Tirumala Srinivasa is like Krishna and Vakula Malika is like Yashoda. So, Annamacharya, who visualizes the Lord atop the 7 hills, says, I see Krishna in him. How does he see Krishna? A bulky boy, obese boy, who's unable to even stand. He can only crawl. That obese, he has to crawl. Now he has a ball of butter in his hand. But that ball of butter is not reachable to his mouth. So as he sees the ball of butter which is just so close, yet not in his mouth, he starts drooling. You know what is drooling? What is drooling? What is it? What do you speak? What's your mother tongue? Tamil. In Tamil, what is it called? Jollu. See, drooling doesn't give you that kick. It's jollu. Okay. So as Krishna was drooling, he was also shedding copious tears. Look at my karma. The butter is not reaching my mouth. And as he would crawl further to the scorching rays of the sun in Gokulam and Mathura, the butter used to melt. And as it used to melt, it used to slip every time. And as he crawled with the butter, the bells attached to his girdle used to produce a rhythmic sound. So Annamaya says, when I see the Lord atop Tirumala, I can hear the rhythmic sound of the bells attached to his girdle as he crawls, drooling and shedding tears at the same time for not having consumed the ball of butter which is at his reach. Ghati ghatita mekhala khachita mani kantika Patala ninadena vibhrajyamanam Kutila pada ghatita samkula shinjite natam Chatula natana samujvala vilasam Bhavayami Gopala balam manasevitam Tatpadam chintayeyam Sada bhavayami Gopala balam manasevitam Tatpadam chintayeyam. Krishna, while he was being fed with milk, Yashoda heard the sound of the milk cooker. You have milk cooker here? Achyutaya Namaha, Anantaya Namaha, or the Instapot, that is Brahma Srishti, right? Every time I come to the US, my host will say, "Ninga eppadiyaadu Instapot find ponga, Instapot find ponga, ungale ninga adula samachidulla." So, as she understood that the milk was boiling, she left Krishna to himself and went inside the kitchen. Krishna was extremely upset. That is the big drawback of Krishna. If you surrender to me, surrender only to me. Don't have backup electricity. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಹೇಳಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಇನ್ನೂ 2 ಜನ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರನೂ ಹೇಳಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಇವ್ರು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. இல்லைன்னா இவர்கிட்ட சொல்லி வச்சிருக்கேன், மறந்து போயிட்டாருன்னா, மறந்து தொலைஞ்சு கொடுத்தனா என்ன பண்ணுறது? 2 பேர்கிட்ட சொல்லி வச்சிருக்கேன், இவர் மறந்துடுவார். Tvai rakshati rakshakaihi kimanyaihi. Surrender to me. This is a bad habit in him. I don't know why he is not changing himself. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Exclusive. You have to surrender only to me. Don't do, what is that, moonlighting. No moonlighting. If you surrender to me, do it to me. Don't work for somebody else. So he got extremely upset with Yashoda. Despite being my mother for so many years, she has not understood my nature. He wanted to teach her a lesson. He went straight and stood on a mortar and broke a pot with a piece of stone. as the pot broke, the pot and its contents was the fulcrum of her week's hard work. The butter fell on him. The buttermilk was spread everywhere. He lay amidst that buttermilk. The commentator writes, Kshirarnavattil kidandavan morarnavattil irikindran. The one who's used to sleeping in the ocean of milk is now sleeping in the ocean of buttermilk. So Yashoda came, what is this? You have gone very unruly, Krishna. I need to teach you a lesson. Kitavaha. Kitavaha in Sanskritam means rascal. Vedanta Deshika says, Chitra Akalpa Shravasi Kalayan Langali Karnapuram Barhottam Sam Spurita Chikuro Bandhujivam Dadanaha Gunja Baddha Murasi Lalitam Dharayan Harayashtim Gopastrinam Jayati Kitavaha Kopi Kaumarahari. Oh, you rascal, you look so good. See, generally in our spoken language, when we have to pamper or you need to praise the child, you may end up using a few abusive words also. Tirrittupayale. Tirrittupayale. If you look at the child and say, if you look at the father and say, then it really means that is the truth. Tirrittupayale. So, here, Vedanta Deshika says, Chitrakalpa Shravasi Kalayan. See, Krishna used to be adorned with whatever jewelry she had. And people used to cast evil glances. That's what the mother believed. So she said, I need to strip you off of all these extra accessories. And she thought, let me adorn him with those forest-based flowers and products which are not so eye-catchy. So she used to bring a karnikara pushpam, gunja seed. She used to make so that he looks okayish. She expected this feedback. Chitra Kalpa Shravasi Kalayan Langali Karnapuram Barhottamsam Spurita Chikuro Bandhu Jivam Dadanaha Gunja Baddha Murasi Lalitam Jarayan Harayashtim. After adorning him with these less glamorous forest products, she used to look at him. He was Sundara before, he has now become Vana Sundara now. Shrutva Gunan Vana Sundara. Then she used to take all those products and then used to put the pearls and the corals again. Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shrinvatante Jayati Kitavaha. I need to teach you a lesson, said Yashoda. And she went away. Now here is an incident, very important. Bhagavatam gives one verse. I will read out the verse in Bhagavatam. Sanjata kopas puritarunadharam sandrishya dadbhirdadi manthabhajanam bhitva mrishashru drishyashmanaraho jagasahayangavamantaram gataha. Shukabrahmam says, Krishna stood atop the mortar and broke that butter pot with a stone, ashmanaraho, with a stone. Now looking at the original manuscript, Bhattadri's duty was to bring the essence of Bhagavatam in Narayaniyam. So as he would look at the original manuscript, he used to internalize and then write. While writing Narayaniyam, after writing that verse and reading that verse, he checked that instead of using the word stone, he has used the word stick. Manthadandam upagrihya patitam. So Krishna broke the pot with a stone. But while writing, Bhattadri has said he had broken with a stick. Sir, what is that? Sir, finally the pot broke. But they are all pramanikas. They should stick to what pramanam says. So he started crying. Sir, what he could have done? He could have just... You know that? So interestingly, now we have become a very digital country in Bharata Desham. At least till my grandfather lived, he used to take drop pension every month. So I used to accompany him as a little boy to the bank. You have to go to the cash counter to take the cash. 212. The token number will come. Then we have to go. Then my grandfather used to give maximum trouble to that cashier. Give me 120 rupee notes. 20, 50 rupee notes. So, while counting, there used to be a traditional way. Uchishtam. Konagam Shedam Taruvarel Punidamandre. Tondaradi Pudiyalvar states. But my grandmother, I used to wonder, every time my grandfather would draw money, she used to wash those notes. Then later, during Corona only, I realized why she did that. So, we may say Bhattadri could have just pressed delete or backspace, but he had to inscribe it on manuscript. It was not easy to copy. Remember, today it's so easy. That is why we have lost our age-old skill. You know what is the skill that we have inherited? Memorizing. We don't memorize. First we'll ask, what is the use of memorizing? Why should I memorize? When it is already there in my iPad, iPad will go to moksha. We may not go. iPad will go, because iPad only has all these granthams. We are not having these granthams. iPad will go. We have to do the 13th day for the iPad. iPad. So we don't seem to memorize all these mundane questions. What is the use of memorizing? What is the use of we living? So in those days, writing, see, we should always be indebted to our ancestors. If gratitude is not there, we keep condemning, demeaning, coming up with our own organizations, asking questions. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? It's very easy to pass resolution in another country. But what have we achieved? What have we achieved? They have left something. Bhattadri, who gave the essence of Narayaniyam, is no normal person. He was a lesser known mathematician. He belonged to a secret school of mathematics called Sangamagramam. They came up with the Madhava series, which is a big area of research in IIT Powai. One of the greatest scholars' sons called Ramasubramaniam is researching on it. So we think they have flunked in all their subjects, their STEM subjects, and finally ended up in humanities and literature. They have made a beautiful blend of maths and literature and have left that to us for deciphering. And as usual, we have not done our good job in deciphering. So here, Narayana Bhattadri was very worried. How could I go against the Mula Grantham? Bhagavatam says Krishna broke the pot with a stone. But I have done mantha dandam upagrihya patitam hanta devadadi bhajanam tvaya. I have said stick. I have committed a grave mistake. He started crying. As he closed his eyes, he heard something break. He opened his eyes. There was a little boy in the place of Guruvayur Garbhagraham, standing on a mortar. Above him was a pot. He was breaking the pot. He was breaking the pot with a stone and a stick. To remind Bhattadri, during Krishna Avataram also, I broke with the stick and the stone. But Shukabrahmam saw the front view. So he got only the stick, but you are the one who has had the top view. Right? You have used that AutoCAD software, so you have come from the top. So you can see the stick, what you have written is right. Manthadandam upagrihya patitam. Now this lady Yashoda wanted to teach that boy a lesson. She said, I need to teach. So she pulled this boy started running. He ran, so did she. He ran, so did she. The boy was worried, if I keep running like this and let my mother run at this age, she won't survive. So he stood. He froze. Hartum kumbhe vinihita karaha svaduhayyangavinam drishtva. He saw Dama, the rope. Grahana chatulam, as she was pulling the rope. Mataram jatarosham payadishat prachalitapado napagachannatistan. He didn't stand, he didn't stick. He just stood. He looked back. Why did he look back? To look at Yashoda and check, do you think I would have broken the pot? Na poi odachirpenama. Na. Meelayan Vishwagupta, Vedanta Deshika says to the one who cheats the world, how long will it take to cheat this lady? Meelayan Vishwagupta. In the school days, now teachers are very careful in Bharata Desham. They should not scold the child, they should not hit the child. Even if the child rots in hell, you should let him rot well. Because it's as per IPC section, the teacher will be punished. At least till I was studying, I have got many beatings from the teacher. Don't talk while I'm teaching. But my teachers now come and listen to my discourse. That is a beauty. ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? மேம் பேசப்படாதுன்னு அடிச்சேளே பேசிண்டே இருக்கேன். So, in the class, I used to sit. She used to take that chalk. She used to break. Dushyanth! That used to come. Atala, vitala, sutala, rasa, atala, mahatala. Used to come hitting. Now, you can be a smart person, right? Ma'am, me? But I couldn't turn back. The wall was behind. Meelayan Vishwagopta hartum kumbhe vinihitakaраha swadu hayyanga veenam drishtvaadamagrahana chatulam mataram jatarosham payadishat prachalita pado napagachan natishtan mithya gopaha sapadinayane meelayan Vishwagopta. Yashoda thought, if I keep looking at this boy, even I will get mesmerized. Come here! She pulled him. And where should I tie this boy? He'll do some mischief. So she tied him to a mortar. Mortar was in their garage. Now, if I tell mortar, many of your children may not be able to relate to. So simple. She was tied to an ultra grinder. That you can understand. So, as Krishna had to be tied, first she had to get the rope. Where will she get the rope? She asked today's birthday boy. You know whose birthday boy today? The sweetest poet. He's called Madhura Kavi Alvar. It is his birthday today. So Yashoda asked, Madhur Kavi, आप मुझे एक आइडिया दो और ಒಂದು ಹಿಂದಿ தெரியாது போடா. So he doesn't know Hindi. Madhur Kavi said, Yashodji, I will tell you an idea. You are into business. So you keep getting parcels. I know about Nandagopa. He would have preserved the ropes that are used to tie that courier box. You go check. She brought those small ropes. What should I do with this, Madhur Kaviji? Edat solungo. Nambal enna pandran? She is from north, right? Enna pandran? So he said, put 3 knots to it. Yanti Mangala Sutratam. So you have to use small ropes and create one long rope. That long rope which is formed as a result of smaller ropes in Tamil is called Kanninun Siruthambu. So she said, Krishna, come here. Then she wanted to tie him. But every time she attempted, she was falling short of a little length. What should I do now? Krishna said, don't worry, I will tie it myself. Kanninun Sirutambinal Kattunna Panni Perumayan. Then she tied him to the mortar. She came a few steps behind. She was surprised. She didn't know which was mortar and which was Krishna. Both are broad at the top, thin in the middle, broad at the bottom. Both are dark. Yeah. If a child has never seen a goat, you keep describing the goat. See, it has beard, it is dark, it will keep staring at you. Tatava. So, this mortar was broad at the top, thin in the middle, broad at the bottom, dark. Krishna is also dark. The commentator Nampillai asks, how did she spot which was Krishna and which was a mortar? He says, he concludes, one cried, the other didn't. ஒன்று அழுதபடியால் இவனே பரதத்துவம் என்று தெரிந்து கொண்டாள். So while she had to tie him, she said, I have not even tied you and hit you. Why are you crying now? What is the use of crying after you hit me? That is why I am crying now. So she tied him to the mortar. பிரமனும் இந்திரனும் மனதில் பொறாமை கொள்ள பிரமனும் இந்திரனும் மனதில் பொறாமை கொள்ள உரலில் கட்டி வாய்ப்பொத்தி கெஞ்ச வைத்தாய் தாயே என்ன தவம் செய்தனை. Now, as he was tied, she said, yadi shaknoshi gachatvam adi chanchala cheshtita sa chakara kutumbini. Vishnu Purana Vakyam. The one who manages the house is commanding the Lord who manages the universe, yadi shaknoshi gachatvam, you move from this place. Ati chanchala cheshtita sa chakara kutumbini. va nagarada badava in the edathut. She went in. Okay, he said. Will he listen? So, then he wanted to have his own time. What had happened, while she tied him, Rama was very, very conscious about calorie intake. 10,000 steps, so many calories, quinoa, brown rice, all that only he'll take. Whereas Krishna is like us. So he was stout. So when the rope was tied around his waist, damam is rope, udaram is your stomach region, dama, udaram, damodaram. He was tied. Now he was consuming something which was found in the small crevice of that mortar. There was little butter. He was eating. So as he consumed, the stomach will enlarge. See, when we go for upanyasams to traditional mathams like Ahobala Matham, Mandavanashramam, Shankara Matham, Vanamamale Matham, after my discourse, the Acharya would say, eat and go. So, there are 5 places where we traditionally tie our panchakacham. So, we drape it like this, like a cylinder, tie, then use that and push that from the below, it will come from behind, and then second kacham will come, third will come. There are 5 places traditionally. It's called Panchakacham. So before we sit, I will loosen one of the kacham. So now Krishna's rope, as he was consuming, it couldn't fit his udara bhagam. So it started rolling and it came to the chest. The commentator says, alongside tying her son, she tied her daughter-in-law too. Mahalakshmi is here, right? Pillayodu சேர்த்து மனாட்டு பெண்ணையும் கட்டி போட்டாள். Will any mother-in-law have the audacity to do it? மாத்தி வேணா நடக்கும். She did that. She did the impossible task. Now, as Krishna was consuming it, he was bored. He thought, well, how should I spend this time? He saw some gap between 2 trees in his front yard. He went, somehow he crawled and managed to get in that small gap of those 2 trees. Who is he? He is the ancestor to Chennai Auto. Chennai Auto will somehow find space to get inside between 2 buses. என்னப்பா இப்படி பண்ணிட்டேப்பா, ஏன்பா ஆட்டோ ஜாகிரதையாக ஓட்டு பஸ் கொண்டு சேர்த்துருவேன் சார், எங்கன்னா தெரியாது. So, why auto means swatantra, right? Automatic means swatantra. He's like Bhagavan. Achit, Chit, Ishvara, 3 wheels. So he goes between the trees. As Krishna managed to get between the gap of the 2 trees, he pulled that mortar too. With the force, those 2 trees fell. That evening, Nandagopal with his briefcase was coming home. He went to the next house. Yashoda, Pankaja Mami, illa enna idu unga illa. No, we had 2 trees. Yes, you had 2 trees. Now those 2 trees also have gone. See, I give lectures in Thrissur. Anybody from Thrissur here? Undo. Oh, Thrissur. You know Pungunam? Arya. Okay. So there is a beautiful agraharam called Pungunam in Thrissur. So every year I'll go give Mahabharata lectures. So I used to stay in the house of one great Bhagavatottama Astika, very close to my heart. So while I used to work and I also used to give lectures, my office had to send some parcel. They asked for the address. I asked at Mama, please give me the address. I only vandam house with a big mango tree in Edirungo. That is the address. House with a big mango tree. Mama, ibdilam kudukka matta mama. Lilla podungo the postman ku theriyum. Then I had to get that address. So this house of Nandagopal was recognized as a house with 2 trees. That was big mango tree. This is 2 trees. Now those 2 trees were also gone. From that came Manikubera, Manigriva, Nalakubera. They were the sons of Kubera who were cursed to be trees. So they got Vimochanam and they do a stuti. This said, Yashoda, while she had to adorn Krishna, I think mothers will know it better. If your children have curly hair, you will have a big task in your life because you have to however you comb, naibalu donku tara bandbidutte. It will go back. So how will you? So Krishna, Yashoda wanted to find a clip. There are two kinds of clips. One remains of Gajendra Moksha. It will be like this. Gajendra Raksha Tvaritam Bhavantam Grahye Rivadairupai. The other one is like Dvaya Mahamantram. You have to bend that. There will be two holes. Purvardham, Uttarardham. You have to pass one stick. So, we get it in Amazon. So, Yashoda wanted to find a clip that will hold Krishna's curly hair tresses. Chikuram, Bahulam, Veralam, Brahmaram, Mrutulam, Vachanam, Vipulam, Nayanam, Adaram, Maduram, Madanam, Lalitam, Chapalam, Charitam, Kadanubhave, says Krishna Karnamrita Leela Shuka. So she couldn't find a clip. There she saw one small peacock feather as a leftover by one of the peacocks that was passing. So she took this peacock feather. I have no other object in front of me. So let me just tie this for now. As a stopgap solution, she inserted that peacock feather. I don't know how he looked on now. That peacock feather gained beauty and glory when it adorned the hair tresses of Krishna. Today, that peacock feather is inseparable from him. Like how you are all inseparable from this Bhagavata Saptaham. So you have got 2 more days to come. Day 6 and day 7, tomorrow and the day after. Tomorrow we will be having, after Ulukhala Bandhanam, Govardhanodharanam, Kaliya Nartanam, Kamsavadham, Rasa Krida, Ashtapadi, then tutelage of Krishna under Sandipani. All important chapters of Vedanta and Dashamaskandam will come. The day after tomorrow, with Kuchelopakhyanam, with Santana Gopala Charitram, with Pradyumna Parinayam, Aniruddha Parinayam, Satyabhama Parinayam, we shall conclude with Rukmini Vivaham, Rukmini Kalyanam on day 7. So, I'm sure I've seen a lot of you who have taken the pains to somehow manage your work and household activities and come all the 5 days, being the 5th day today. Please do come for 2 more days. As requested, the board committee members of this temple, under the able guidance of our Dikshit Garu, Dikshit Swami, have made this set of 7 days as a free lecture open to all. So the best way you all can do is to contribute towards this. So you all contribute generously to the temple for the beautiful kainkaryam that they have been doing. So 2 more days, I'm sure, except those tiny portions where I may slip into Tamil, which barely would be about 6 to 7% of my overall lecture time. The remaining 93%, you all can understand the Indian accent of the English that I have bequeathed from Maharajni Victoria, Elizabeth, and Mahamahopadhyaya, Wren and Martin. So with my English mostly relatable, I'm sure you can bring more people. There is a lot of space here also. So you can bring more people. 2 more days. Please tell them Krishna awaits their arrival on a weekday. I know weekdays are tough, but you've all made such wonders. The impossible happen on a weekday. Thank you so much. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha Swastif Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmanebhya Shubham Astu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmanaba Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayir Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Datre Karuna Sudhabde Kamvadi Divya Yudha Satkaraya Vatalaya Dhisha Namo Namaste Narayana Narayana